Hi, my name is Jessica Zelaya. I'm a potter and a small business owner. I own a studio called Z Pottery. Today I'm going to be showing you some basics about centering and pulling up on the wheel. The first thing we're going to make is a spoon rest. This is an extremely simple project. They sell quite well and they're fun to make. So first I have about 12 ounces of clay here. I like to go ahead and just pat it into a ball. And I've got my bat here. I'm going to give this ball of clay a nice 1, 2, 3 right at the dot. If it's not quite on there, you can always kind of push it on. If it's pretty far off, you want to just pull it off, get it back into a ball, possibly wedge it, and then try again. Wet my hand and start my wheel. And when you first start centering, you might want to spin your wheel quite fast. So I go ahead and spin my wheel and I give it a gentle squeeze in and kind of cone up, slowly, gently lifting my hands up at the same time. You don't want to squeeze too hard because you'll end up pulling just the whole top part of your clay off. You want this top portion to come out like a little. You do not want it to dip inwards. It needs to be convex, not concave. If it is convex, if it goes in at the top, that means that you're not pulling this clay from the inside out. You're just pulling the outer clay up. And you want to kind of create a cycling motion inside of the clay as you're wheel wedging. So now that I've got it up, I'm going to bring it down. Now I often tell my students to do a karate chop. And this makes sure that they're using this portion of their hand and that they keep their hand nice and flat. I like to use a fist just because I feel like I'm steadier that way. Different things work for different people, so find what works for you. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down. Okay, so I've brought it down. Now I can wedge it back up if I wanted to, but with something this small, and I've already wedged the clay quite a lot, I think we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it nice and flat out on the wheel, and just spread it out. Now that I've got it all spread out, I can make sure it stays nice and wet. Go ahead and take my wooden rib, put it right across the top, and give a gentle pressure down to condense. Okay, and I'm just condensing the surface of the clay, and that's going to make sure that everything stays nice and strong and it doesn't crack. And then I can go and just kind of tidy up this rim area here. Now that I have it all condensed, I can go ahead and add a spiral at this point. So I'm going to put my finger in the center and give a nice pull out. I like to kind of smooth it just slightly with my fingers. I can even stop the wheel and look at it for a second. Okay, so now that I'm ready to lift a slight ledge to this, I like to go ahead and make sure that the rim is nice and wet, and my hand is wet, but I don't want to add too much water to the center, because if I add too much water to the center, I have to sponge it off, and that will cause me to pull up the grit from the center. It'll undo where I just condensed it, and also it'll kind of mess up my pretty spiral. So what I like to do at this point is I put one hand on my left hand on top, right hand on the side. You should use a finger, and kind of slide it under the rim of this and pull up a little lip. So now we have a little tray. Now if this is, depending, I like to go ahead and make sure it's wet underneath. Feel this thickness, and I can give it a gentle pull if I feel like it needs it. I like to leave the rim on these quite thick because you're going to be putting a spoon on it. You want to make sure that it's nice and strong. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and just clean up all the slurry. Make sure it's nice and dried off. Okay, I go ahead and at this point add a spout. So I'm just putting my two fingers on the side, and then I put my finger in the center and give it a nice wiggle. And that adds this little part for the spoon to rest. And then I cut it off. Now with these, because they have a larger surface on the bottom and they're quite thin, I do like to wet the front side of the wheel head. Take my wire tool right here, go ahead and put it to my fingers. I like to push down with my fingers here, making a nice tight surface, and pull right under. Now if it doesn't move, I tend to go again. And I'm pulling, I want to see water coming out the other side. And I did see that. So I can make sure my hands are nice and dry on my towel, so I don't have any muck on my hands. So that'll transfer to the pot. Go ahead and just slide it off that clay pot in the center onto my other hand, and then onto a waiting wear board.